The John LeBanc Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised. Earthlings, and alert the media. The John LeBanc Show is broadcasting worldwide. Thank you for joining me for yet another hour of broadcasting from this microphone through the internet and the airwaves to your eardrums, where it gets deep into your subconscious and causes a reaction called chronic brain cell rejuvenation. This is not tabloid radio like the other mainstream outlets out there. This is real-time radio, where we dissect what is happening around the globe, in world events, in popular culture, and give you our breakdown of all that is happening. And there's a lot happening here, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a busy week. I was considering, I might need to start doing a lot more YouTube videos, almost like nightly now, because things were happening all week. And unlike the mainstream manufactured news and the other broadcasting voices out there, like the Rush Limbaughs and the Glenn Becks, who have vast amounts of money, and they do this as an everyday job because people go to them and buy their products and keep them, keep their advertisers coming in as well. So they're making a fortune, and that's why they got tons of listeners. Here we don't have quite that large of a listenership. Not doing too bad. In fact, any new listeners that are out there, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening for your very first time. We're going to begin with something that's making the headlines as we speak. And that's old Harvey Come Please Touch Me Anywhere is now facing, or the NYPD looks like they're building a rape case against Harvey Please Come Touch Me Anywhere. Watch me in the shower. Harvey, watch me in the shower. We should come up with a lot of nicknames, because I have a feeling that Harvey's going to get a lot of attention, probably more attention now than he ever had gotten while he was a Hollywood mogul. So if you come up with any cool nicknames, any sexy nicknames for old Harvey, let me touch you all over. Please feel free to let us know in the comments section, or email us at jlebang@live.com. Maybe we'll have a little contest, and the person who comes up with the best nickname for old Harvey, please come touch me all over, Harvey Wallbanger over there, we'll give him a prize. We'll come up with some kind of prize package, maybe a Wrecking Crew t-shirt. And I'm hearing that there's going to be new Dark Clouds coming soon, and that I'm going to be one of the first broadcasters to have the brand new music in my hands. So when that happens in the music hour, you'll be able to listen to that. Maybe we'll have a copy to give to you, because I hear we're getting a DVD actually. So that's exciting. But old Harvey gonna be facing a rape case. We knew it was coming down. We knew this was going to come down. In fact, it's starting to come out all over. It's becoming tabloid news. And every mainstream outlet has become somewhat of a tabloid. And here on the John LeBang Show, we're not exactly tabloid radio. I know there are other shows that are similar to the John LeBang Show. Some that borrow our ideas. They're a little bit more like tabloid radio, where they talk about weird this and weird that all the time. And that's fine. We like to get in a little more serious subjects. But as Harvey, show me if you got him. His rape case is going to be top news for the next, who knows how long. We don't know. But once the NYPD charges him and, has that case all set up against him, I should say, it's going to be the mainstream focus for I don't know how long. It already dominates the Drudge Report and ABC News and NBC News. It's the top one. This whole Hollywood thing has become big news now. Something that we all knew for how long? It's not like it's a new revelation what Hollywood was, but now it's big news. So you know what that tells me? They're sacrificing a few people to cause some kind of distraction to keep us away from the real things out there. And there's a lot of news that we could be discussing. We did have another attack in New York. The religion of pieces was at it again. We're going to have to start really considering how to handle this stuff to end it, because it's no longer safe to go out in public anymore, ladies and gentlemen. You're better off staying home. And since you're staying home, you should tune in to the John LeBang Show, which I know you are. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't be hearing me say this. You've already smartened up. You've already got the picture that going out in public right now is not a good idea because some random nut job, some just happening event could take you out, could put you in a bad position, could hurt you physically. And you get those people that will tell us that, we can't let all these things change our behavior. Well, if you want to die, then don't change your behavior. But if you're a smart person, you're going to get out of the way. You're going to say, whatever's happening out there in the world, I'm going to avoid it. It's not like that world out there is so great, so wholesome of a world anyways. It's filled with degenerates. It's filled with liars, scumbags. I mean, there was a time when a lot of us could say, there are more good people than bad people. Can you say that now? Are there more good people out there than there are bad people? And if you're going to cut people slack because they're in your family and you don't want to tell the truth about them, to yourself, that is, I don't know what to say. But the idea that the world is filled with good people and the bad people are only this small, tiny minority, that's living in fantasy world. We also are probably going to get into the Trump tax plan as the show progresses, or the Republican tax plan. We've also got some Russian probe talk that we're probably going to, at least dab our finger in the water a bit. Some climate change news. We don't ever pass up an opportunity to discuss the all-important subject of climate change. Let's not forget, we also have Clinton news, DNC news, a big I told you so coming up a little bit later in the broadcast. But maybe we should talk about Antifa, or as we have dubbed them here, Antifada. Fada. Bunch of angry people, angry over I don't know what. Whatever they think is fascist out there, they are acting fascist themselves. But whatever. They're talking about this is the internet buzz, ladies and gentlemen. And I haven't gotten news reports yet on what has transpired out there because it's been a busy week. There's been a lot to build a show with or build the 2 hours with. We may not have much variety in the second hour because we're going to have so much to fill here in the first hour that I don't think we might get. I don't think we're going to get through it all. My tongue has been tied for the past 3 weeks now. I've been having trouble speaking, Been a little more stressed and there's been a lot going on. Everything is almost concluded though. And I've diverged from the show matter. But as you can tell, even though there's a lot to discuss and talk about, I don't feel like getting into tabloid radio. And that's what the entire news cycle has become. It's like tabloid here, tabloid there. But we have to talk about the tax plan. We have to talk about the Russian probe. We have to talk about climate change. But we have these Antifa, these anti-fascists protesting in over 20 cities across the nation, Oregon, all over the place. And when we find out in the end what happened, we're going to find out that little violence happened here, little violence happened there. It wasn't peaceful. Because the discourse in this country is no longer peaceful. We can't respectfully disagree and still be friends anymore. It's gotten to the point where my way is the only way that's right and your way is totally wrong, and if you don't do it my way, then I have to kill you. Then I have to beat you up. And that's happening from the point of view of the people in the Antifa, the Black Lives Matter, some other groups on the supposed right. But it's their protests against each other and against the whole country that is proving that they're the ones that are the fascists. The Antifa has some kind of supporting financial backer behind them to be so well organized. And if we look deep enough, it's probably going to be George Soros or somebody like him, one of his foundations, because that's all the power structure, the elite, the spiders and the owls, whatever you want to call them, the people who have the money to control everything. And because they have that money, they impose their will through various means. And right now they're wanting to have this country at a boiling point. It's not like it's something that they've just begun. This has been a continuing thing for many years now. And the Antifa is just the next step in it. It's like the terrorist groups. You had Al-Qaeda, then you had ISIS, and then after those will be gone, maybe they'll stick around, but there'll be another big name terrorist group that'll come out, and they'll do their thing, and they'll do terrorist stuff, and that's what they do, and that's what these protesters are doing. They just go out there and protest, and they break things, and it doesn't matter what their name is, because it's always the same thing. And just because they rebrand themselves, just because it's a new faction, doesn't mean it's a changed philosophy. So that's one thing we have going on here in the United States nearing the end of 2017. I mean, we're in November now, folks. Closing in on the holidays. Thanksgiving's not that far away. Then we're going to have all the religious holidays, the paganistic holidays, and then we got the New Year. It's going to be bloom. It's going to be done. I mean, I was just discussing with a friend of mine. We've already knocked out like 9 weeks since I've been back on the radio. 9 weeks, boom. Just like that. And it feels like I just got done with the last vacation. And I wasn't even on vacation. We got to take a quick break, folks. I've gone way long. Woo! So much to talk about and so little time. Be right back.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John LeBang Show's going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man. Yes, I would like some too.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we've been discussing the probe into Russia hacking our elections for a while now, and we finally got the first indictments, and Paul Manafort and a couple other former Trump associates are being charged with a couple things. Embezzlement, I don't know what it's, I mean, conspiracy against the United States. That's a broad indictment. I mean, that's, you are conspiring against the United States. That's a broad charge. So when you look at it, the mainstream manufactured news started promoting it. Oh, it's all about the Russian probe. Manafort turns himself in, and these are the first charges related to the Russian probe. Well, not exactly, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, all these indictments, these charges levied against Mr. Manafort and associates, we'll say, stem from things that happened way before the election, have nothing to do with any Russian hacking into the government, or into the election, I should say, wasn't connected to the DNC hacking. These are all charges being levied on Manafort for things he had done way in the past, years ago. Yet the mainstream manufactured news ran with the story. First charges in probe investigation case. And they leave it at that. But it has nothing to do with the hacking into the election. Nothing at all. And what we do know is that whatever hacking the Russians did had no effect on the actual results of the election. Yet we have the mainstream manufactured news pushing a story that really means nothing. And they're pushing out a narrative that is plainly a false. It's a lie. has nothing to do with the Russian hacking into the United States election just a year ago. In fact, we just had people from Facebook and other social media sites testify, lawyers that was, testify on the subject, and they said that the majority of the propaganda that did come through social media from Russia was anti-Trump. Oh. Isn't that interesting? Yet we can't find that in the mainstream manufactured news anywhere. Nobody on MSNBC, CNN, ABC News, NBC News are even talking about it. Zero, zip, nada, nothing. I mean, it's seriously insulting that people in the mainstream manufactured news think they can BS us the way they are, and the main population of the country don't get it. It's only a few of us that understand what is being told to everybody, because we actually read beyond the headlines. I mean, if you read the headlines, you got 3 Trump associates charged in Russian collusion probe. That's a Yahoo News headline. Trump aide at the center of Russian probe proved to be a liar. Russian probe, almost half the U.S. says Trump committed crime. I mean, these are the headlines that are being given to the mainstream public, the people who listen to CNN and watch ABC and all these other mainstream outlets. But if you get into it, you can see that the Paul Manafort indictment shows no signs of Trump-Russia collusion. I mean, that is clear as day, and people don't want to see that. People will walk around with their blinders, and then when CNN pops out a headline that says, that is to the effect of ex-Trump aide Manafort charged in U.S. tax fraud over Ukraine, part of Russian probe. People are like, oh, see, we told you, Russia and Trump, Trump is guilty. Guilty! And it's funny, those almost half of U.S. says Trump committed a crime. I love those polls because it was very close. I mean, for the most part on the popular vote, right? A few million votes either way doesn't matter. I mean, that's very little in the grand scheme of things. Half the country is probably, didn't like Trump. They didn't vote for him. Or close to half the country didn't vote for Trump. According, if you go to the popular vote, that's more than half didn't vote for him. So sure, there you go. There you go. All you need to do is contact all those people. You could have had 100% people didn't like Trump. Just the mainstream news is so manufactured at this point. They pick and choose what they want to report. They cherry pick everything. They let's take that out of it. That's important. No collusion between Russia and Trump was found in this thing. So let's just pull that out of there and we'll stick that over here in the garbage bin. Just put it down there, put it in the recycling bin, please. And maybe we'll get to it later. Not really, just throw it out after, right? Take that bag and take it out to the dumpster and throw it out there. I mean, that is irresponsible reporting by the mainstream manufactured news. The headline itself is deceiving at very least, and outright lies at the worst end of it. I mean, we've got even more. We've got now in the Clinton thing, because these are tied together in a manner of speaking. We've got a book by Donna Brazier come out with a bombshell about how the DNC and Hillary Clinton rigged the election against Bernie Sanders. And I'm talking about the Democrat National Committee and in the primaries there, so that Bernie Sanders couldn't become the nominee and Hillary Clinton could become the nominee. Now we have Donna Brazier coming out with a book saying that. Oh, and she's getting all the news. Now it's big headlines now on Drudge and everybody else. The entire alternative media, or what they call the alt-right, because they like to make us sound like we're a bunch of idiots or whatever. The entire alternative media knew this from the beginning, when this first became a story. We were on it. We understood what was going on. We knew Bernie got ripped off. Now it takes a Democrat to write a book about it for the whole world to go, oh my God, they ripped off Bernie? They ripped off Bernie? Hillary Clinton ripped off Bernie? That's a surprise? See, this is what's wrong with the mainstream manufactured news and the people that give them the attention without even one grain of thinking. Just follow along with the mainstream manufactured news. Because if Donna doesn't put this book out, if she isn't brave enough to put this book out, nobody knows about it. Even though we here in the alternative media, the alt-right, which has been totally, attacked since the election, as being a bunch of fake news people, except we've gotten it right more times than the mainstream manufactured news. You think they're getting to the heart of this Las Vegas shooting thing? Heck no. We're going to speak on that for just a second before we go to break here. But we had one of the big YouTubers, in the alternative media community, Mr. Cat Eye, one of the important guys, had to go dark recently because somehow there's a connection with, he must have hit something, I should say, in one of his videos, and he's a very thorough guy in his videos, around the Las Vegas shooting. And now he has gone dark, and he says he's cooperating. Boy, oh boy, there's a lot of stuff out there, folks. And every time I hear the mainstream manufactured news try to discredit the alternative media, try to disparage us, try to make us sound like we're just a bunch of fake newsers, and then things like this come out, Donna Brazier, they were cheating to Bernie at the Democrat National Committee so he couldn't become the nominee. Big news now. Big news. Nobody listened to us in the alternative media a year ago. Nah. What a bunch of fake newsers that was. Bunch of fake freaking news. Whatever. It's you people who listen to the mainstream manufactured news and buy their garbage that perpetuates this crap, and that's why we never get to the bottom of anything. These people have the budgets to get to the bottom of a lot of these things, and they never do unless the guy is hated. Like, Burney, please, Harvey, please come touch me all over. We don't want to indict Mr. Bernie Sanders over there, Colonel Sanders, into touching women when it was Harvey who was touching them, or wanting them to touch him, or wanting them to watch him in the shower. We got a bunch of sickos out there, and we're going to give him more spotlight by actually covering his stupid rape case that'll be coming up. It's going to be like the OJ thing, whatever. Got to take a quick break, folks. More on the flip side. We're going to talk about the Trump tax plan, climate change, and a little bit of the New York attack. Don't go anywhere, folks. More on the flip side of this.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John LeBang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John LeBang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable maggots who collaborate must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're traveling on through this first hour of the John LeBang Show this week. And we're going to talk about the Republican tax plan that was revealed to the public this week. Same time the unemployment rate was revealed to us this week, or at least a little later in the week that was revealed to us. All-time low since 2000, right? We're doing great. Unemployment all-time low. And we got the tax plan. And on the surface, I guess it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's a tax plan I'm going to be able to get behind. In fact, I already know I can't get behind it. But it might be a step in the right direction. On the surface, it looks like we're going to get a large permanent tax cut in the corporate tax rate. So they're going to give corporations a pretty good tax rate cut, hopefully bringing them in line with the rest of the countries around the world, or at least closer to them, since we are the highest taxed as far as the corporate rate is concerned. Apparently, it also eventually will eliminate the estate tax, which I'm in favor of, because there's no reason the government needs to get any money whatsoever out of an estate because somebody had passed away. They're not entitled to anything. They're not entitled to my my income tax in the first place, let alone my estate tax. So hey, that's a step in the right direction, and hopefully that can be something permanent, and they can make it so nobody can eliminate that in the future. Because once this set of congressmen and women and senators are diluted and left and went away, and the next set come in, things can change there. So hopefully we don't make it easy for future Congresses, future presidents to bring back an estate tax for any reason. Apparently there's a reduction in the number of individual tax brackets. So that's where they're attempting to simplify the tax code a little, which was a promise of Donald Trump in the election, or during the campaign, I should say. So maybe, possibly, that's a step in the right direction as well. Now, this was promised by Trump in the campaign, and I was not in favor of it. I'm not in favor of this kind of tax credit at all for anybody. But they're going to increase the child tax credit, which makes no sense to me, because a person who doesn't have children has to pay a higher, let's just say even if they have to pay the same rate, they get no tax credit because they don't have a kid. And what comes with not having a kid is you don't have somebody taking up the time of the education system, maybe participating in the healthcare system, less time driving, because we all know, parents, that when you have children, you're all over the place. You got to take them here, and you got to take them there, and this and that and the other place. So that affects road conditions and other things that are based around that. So giving somebody a tax credit, let's just say it's $1,000 over the course of 18 years, that you're giving back to somebody $18,000, who then in turn has their child be put into the system, which then costs the system thousands of dollars each and every year. So for having children, you're maybe swinging in favor of maybe $6,000 or more dollars a year. Maybe a little less, but we'll just say $6,000 when everything's considered, the tax break, the education of the child, maybe some health care because the parents can't afford health care or they get a subsidy for it. I mean, let's not even get into the area of people who are on the bridge cards and welfares and all that. Then it goes up from $6,000 to who knows how many $1,000 because of that child. And that child, and no offense, ladies and gentlemen, I know most of my listeners have children. So I'm not trying to offend anybody. But that child is a burden on the system. You have to have a teacher in school. You have to have janitors at the school because you have teachers in the school. You have to have a principal and administrative costs and all these other things that are related because your child is in the system. Why is it okay? And you're getting all that paid for by every single one of us. People who have kids and people who don't have kids. Then you also get a tax credit, money back on that as well. It's just backwards to me. If you're putting your kid into a system, it should cost you more. You should have to pay for their education. You should have to pay for their lunches and all that other stuff. Not a person who doesn't have children. And you shouldn't get money back on it. I mean, I'm not trying to offend anybody. But it doesn't make sense. Pop out a kid, you get a bunch of money. Pop out a kid, you get more money. And you keep popping out kids. And if you can't afford the kid, then you go on a welfare or something. And it starts costing the system a lot of money. And you're getting money back for it. I mean, it's backwards. Totally backwards. Now, if you take your kid to private school, you're still paying into somebody else's public school system. Now, you might get some of that tax credit back because you had a kid. So at least you get a refund on your public education costs that you can shift over to your private education costs. But it makes no sense to me, and I don't know why they're going to increase that. They should take it away. They should charge people. The more kids you have, the more it costs. Plain and simple. I know they're trying to give families a break. But it's coming at the expense of everybody else who do not have kids in the system, who don't pay towards, like, let's say, you don't pay that much. You pay enough to support your kid in the system. So you get one back. Somebody might not pay enough for their kid to be in the system, and they get a whole bunch of money back. Just a screwy system, folks. But that's part of the new Republican tax plan. mean, it's like class warfare. It's the same thing. Also, through all this, the Republicans are pledging not to increase the deficit more than $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years. Seems literally impossible. Since we already have about $666 billion just since January in the red. But hey, no big deal there, I guess. What they're going to do to solve the problem, the Republicans have decided to eliminate the cap or number of popular tax credits. A move that would, disproportionately hit people who make between $100,000 and $200,000. Americans who earn $1 million in taxable income would trigger an extra 6% tax on the next $200,000 they earn. Of course, none of this was announced. You just had to kind of go look for it. The Republicans didn't tell you for it or tell you about it. And what happens? It creates a small little tax bracket in there, and your tax rate's going to be 45.6% or thereof. When the Republicans promised what? The top percentage was going to be 30% or something like that. I don't even remember what they were pledging. Not even close to this. They're fooling around with the whole system. Why don't we just get rid of income tax? Get rid of the Federal Reserve and go back to the old ways of making money for the country. I mean, we've talked about it before, but if you want to know what I'm talking about, then just go look at what and how the country made money and how it paid for things before 1913, before Woodrow Wilson and nefarious groups enslaved the American people to pay an income tax unconstitutional from my point of view and a lot of other people's point of view. So this new rate stems from a provision in the bill that is intended to help the government recover some of the losses that they're going to have because they're giving a tax break to everybody but these people. I mean, it's ridiculous. The government is supposed to do everything equally across the board. No one is supposed to get any special privileges, and nobody is supposed to be discriminated against. Yet, we have all kinds of class warfare here and there, and that's all the people that run for political office know how to work things. They just pin people against each other. They give people bonuses here and give special this and that. Hey, if you're a poor person making under so much, we're going to give you this. And if you're a rich person and this is happening, then you get this kind of treatment. And then you look at the middle class going, we don't get anything. We just keep getting taxed. We keep paying higher costs for everything. Our wages are barely going up. They say unemployment's at all-time low since 2000. I don't see it. Do you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? Do you believe unemployment's at an all-time low? Do you believe anything the government says at this point? We got a tax bill that may be a step in the right direction if it stays the way it's being promoted, although we're finding little things in there that are worrisome. They're raising taxes on a few, dropping taxes over here. And see, there are going to be some people that get mad about dropping the corporate tax. I have no problem with getting rid of the corporate tax or dropping the corporate tax. I don't see why we need to be taxed the way we're taxed. Okay, if we're buying and selling something, sure, if the government wants to get involved there to regulate all that, because they have to be there to regulate the buying and selling of things, so one person doesn't take advantage of another, fine and dandy. But don't tell me that me working for somebody is your concern and you should be involved in that process of the exchange of money there, and you should get a cut out of it. It's ridiculous. The reason the government's too big is because they started taking too much money. And then they couldn't stop spending. What'd they take in? Like, I think they took in like $3 trillion some dollars. Yeah, it's like $3.3 trillion or something like that. They spent $4 trillion. Doesn't matter how much you give them, they can't control their spending. And the Republicans are the ones that are supposed to reduce the deficit. They're promising, we're not going to, you know what? We're not going to raise the deficit more than $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years. Hey, we're slowing down the rate of that, that's all. I mean, it's no big deal that we're spending more than we're taking in, and we're having to borrow money, and we're having to sell off parts of the country, and we're having to screw everybody by taking too much money in the first place. And this tax reform bill is just one way of placating everybody. Going here, we're giving you, here's a little lollipop for you, ladies and gentlemen. We know we promised you the world. We can't give you the world. We should have never promised it to you in the first place. But because we can't give you the world, here's a little Tootsie Roll for you. Enjoy. We got to take a quick break, folks. Be right back.
Where do you think you're going?
The John LeBang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down.
Stay right here.
Powerful, epic music by Toot Box Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Now here's John.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this final segment of the first hour. Hope you're enjoying this evening's broadcast, or if you're listening to us in the day, because you might be on the other side of the world from where we're broadcasting. Well, good morning. Glad to have you with us in this hour. A couple last things we want to talk about. The climate change issue is back in the headlines again. And apparently, the ozone layer there, the ozone holes are shriveling down and getting smaller ever since 1998. That must be a good thing, right? That must be a good thing, right? Even though, as we've explained to you before, the ozone is just a natural cycle that happens when the sun hits the ionosphere, and it causes a reaction with the O2 and splits them up, making them free radicals. If you've been listening to the John LeBang Show long enough, you'll know the answer to that. If you are questioning what I'm saying, well, go look it up. It's not that hard. Free radicals, ozone, ionosphere. I gave you all the clues. Also, the Trump administration released a report saying there's no convincing evidence, none at all, no convincing evidence that it's anything else but climate change that's affecting climate change. I mean, that's what the report said. You read through all the gobbledygook in it and you break it down, it's like, we don't have a reason why climate change is happening. It's just happening. And I'm like, duh. I've been talking about that for years here on the John LeBang Show as well. Climate change happens. Why? Because it's natural and it's always happened. It always will happen. Now, if we want to discuss geoengineering and chemtrails, weather modification, then we can do that sort of thing. But don't blame me for driving my car or having some cows in my backyard. Don't blame me as an average everyday human who barely expends any CO2. And as far as I can tell, through the history of the planet, CO2 is not a bad thing, and it promotes life. And wouldn't we want some global warming to happen instead of some global cooling, which is being predicted? That we might head into some kind of mini ice age within the next few years? I'm not saying that. That's scientists saying that. And can anybody tell me the last time their state, their city, their front yard was the same climate more than like 2 days in a row? Was the wind the exact same speed and was the temperature the exact same? Same exact humidity, the barometer was exactly the same. It's never the same for day to day. You live here in Michigan, you can go from 100 degrees in the summer down to negative 40 in the wintertime. Most of us survive. That's because the human race is extremely adaptable. We adapt to everything. If we didn't, there'd be nobody up in the Antarctic at all. Or down in the Antarctic. It depends on what side of the planet you're on, and if you think the Antarctic is the top of the planet or the bottom of the planet. Now, if you're following the globe, it's at the bottom of the planet, and the North Pole is the top of the planet. But how are we knowing? How do we know in this grand cosmic universe that we're just this little ball in, apparently? How do we know that north is not south and south is not north? In other words, how do we know north is not down in the universe? If the universe has an up and a down. There is no up and down on the planet except if you fly and you crash. That's about it. Well, you can sink in the boat, I guess that's going down. Jaws come and attack your boat. We're going to need a bigger boat, folks. But this is the stuff we're dealing with. And people are so brainwashed, they're so inculcated that climate change is man-made. And yet they don't know the details behind anything. Ask them. Oh, climate change man-made, huh? Name me a study that says that. You'll get the blankest look you'll ever see, folks. Oh, well, I don't know. Oh, are you one of those people that are interviewed on college campuses, and when they give you a Trump tax plan and call it a Burney tax plan, you like it, and then when you hear it's Trump tax plan, you go, oh, I don't like it. Most people who are, environmentalists and think climate change is a big deal and humans are bad have no idea that the CO2 levels were much higher during the Cretaceous period, that there was more life on the planet during the Cretaceous period, and it was in an actual tropical period on the planet, unlike what we are now, which is an interglacial period. And you know what that means? It means it's a little bit of a warming period inside of an ice age, folks. And that's what we're experiencing on this planet. I mean, we're in an ice age called the Pliocene Quaternary Glaciation. You can look it up on Google. I'm not making it up. It's not fake news. Climate change made by man is fake news, folks. The only men that are affecting the climate are the people running the chemtrails and the people behind weather modification, like over there in Harvard and many other places in the world. The people who want to geoengineer the planet. We've even did a story, it wasn't but 3-4 weeks ago, that we talked about how China's going to manipulate the weather when the Olympics come to them, so that way it doesn't rain during the opening ceremonies, because we can do that, folks. I mean, they just put a movie out. It didn't do very well because people couldn't grasp the idea because they don't know it can actually happen. And the elite who put this movie out knew they wanted to tell us it was happening and knew no one would go, and they didn't care because they don't mind putting out crappy movies, as we see with Thor Gag Me with a Sock. We're going to talk about that movie in the second hour, boy. I'm telling you, Marvel put out the biggest pile of something. But we're not on that right now. Let me not diverge away from climate change as of right now. If you want to talk about geoengineering the planet, weather modification, the chemtrails, then damn right, mankind is affecting the planet and the climate. But if you want to tell me that me driving a SUV is a bad thing, or me using any equipment that uses fossil fuel is a bad thing, and that CO2 is bad for the environment and that it's going to kill us, I'm going to tell you, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. All you have to do is study the Cretaceous period. Now, if you don't like people, if you don't like life, then fine. You don't want any global warming to happen for sure. Because that promotes life. That's also going to give us more food because the growing seasons are going to be longer. And we're going to have more fresh water because some of those glaciers are going to melt. And we'll be able to have drinking water, which is in desperate need across the planet, I hear. You see, the people who get behind this global warming, the people who think that it's a problem, don't even understand that global warming would be a positive on the planet. Sure, we would lose some oceanfront properties. The people out there in Malibu and a couple other places might have to move inland just a little bit. So we get, oceanfront property in Vegas, and maybe California's gone. But that's all hypothetical, and it hasn't transpired like Mr. Al Gore and old B.O. told us. Although B.O. might have stopped the seas from rising while he was in office. I don't know. That was the mantra for a while there. I'm very animated tonight. Because I'm just, tired of the gobbledygook that we're fed every single day of our lives. And we're force-fed it. It's not like we want this stuff. Some people do. But they stick a plate in front of us, our hands are tied, and they just shove it down our throats. There you go. Eat it, swallow it. Don't spit it out now. Don't you dare spit it out. And it's filled with GMOs, and it's filled with toxins, and maybe vaccines. You never know what it's filled with anymore. And then it gets in your system and it brainwashes you. These little nano messages that travel in through your intellectual digestive system. And they just eat away at anything that lets you think. And we have so many people who believe these things and who still put stock in the mainstream media, politicians, Hollywood, and the like. And I wonder if there's any hope for mankind the way things are, the way the race is being directed. We're in big trouble, folks, as far as I can see. Because there's not enough people who hold things like knowledge, true, discernible knowledge, where you do some research in, and you don't take the first headline that happens to be on a website that you believe in because they say everything that you agree with. I want to thank all of our affiliate stations. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I've been silly. I've been a little wacky this hour. It's just, I just don't. There are nights that I can be serious about the news, or I try to be serious, and then I just realize the whole thing is a big, giant tabloid, and we're force-fed it all, and it gets to me. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all of our affiliate stations for allowing the John LeBanc Show to be broadcast around the globe. Don't forget to go to our website. That's www.jlebang.com. Thank you, my listener, for all of the support you have given me here in 2017. And, for a matter of fact, since the very beginning. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again. And for some of you, that's in the next hour.
Tune in
This
again
is
next
John
week.
LeBang
Same
signing
time,
off
same
from
space,
LeBanger Studios.
same station.
Resistance is futile.